Hey everyone, it's the Shawn. Welcome to another edition of Great Sales Leaders, where we bring lessons to you, the sales leaders, from other sales leaders. So our idea is to go out and talk to people that are doing great things in the sales and related worlds, bring them to you so you can take some lessons home, up your game with your organization, whatever team you're leading, or maybe the company you own. Joining me today is my regular co-host, Shannon J. Gregg. We'll talk about her in a minute. And Leah Woodford. Leah Woodford, we wanted to get on the show because she's been doing a lot of great stuff with sponsored events. She has the SmartFem Summit each year, proof of concept, growing event, really a wonderful thing, and deep relationship with sponsors that want to come back. And Leah and I have had some conversations offline because some people struggle to keep those sponsor relationships going. They struggle to figure out how to keep people coming back. Leah's really worked hard at it. Has some lessons for us. Maybe there's no magic pill, but she'll certainly teach us a lot of principles she uses to keep people happy and to keep them engaged in the SmartFem Summit and the other projects she does. My colleague, Shannon J. Gregg, who I co-host the show with, sales, productivity systems, get the right CRM in your company, get your teams working and aligned. Of course, her and I do stuff together on Time Management, which is our special blend of time management philosophies and information. And I'm a corporate lawyer by training, help people with ownership and control of their business, still do a lot of that for my clients. That's mergers, capital raises, partnership agreements, contract negotiations. But I also do a lot on the future of business, which is where this show comes in, my other shows come in. We're looking for lessons, business strategy lessons for the future of business, which informs my speaking, but also informs you, the audience, with tips you need. So today we'll be digging into some sales lessons from Leah. We love your comments, whoever you're watching, whether it's one of our LinkedIn feeds, if it's the Great Sales Leaders page, or if you're seeing it on our Shawn McBride Fans on his Facebook, wherever, drop your comments. We want to hear from you. We want to know what's going on. And as I always remind folks, we don't do investment advice or legal advice on shows. Everything here is just for your education. With that, welcome to the show, Leah. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So, SmartFem Summit, got to join you there last year. Was a really great event.
Thank you.
We're getting ready for the second year of the SmartFem Summit, and you've got sponsors involved. You've got people that are having good experiences. Why don't you just talk a little bit about how do you build relationships with sponsors that really make sense and last?
Well, I think it's funny. I've had this conversation with many event planners, and most of them lose their shirt at events. And I think the problem is they really haven't niched down what their core message is, and so their audience and their sponsors aren't congruent.
Yes.
And just putting butts in seats is not going to make it successful. You have to, like, for instance, ours is speakers, authors, and entrepreneurs. And the reason I say entrepreneurs is because if you're a speaker or you're an author, you're an entrepreneur by default. So,
yeah.
And so our sponsors are, we have book experts. We have, the guys that put the books into Barnes and Nobles and the airports. I found when I created this because when I wrote my first book, I realized, oh my God, I know nothing about the book industry.
Yeah.
And I did it because I figure, me being in the media, if I don't know, there's a lot of other people who didn't know, and people were asking me questions. And so, Shawn, you were one of the first people I came to and said, hey, I have this idea. And there were 8 of us, and then there were 2 of us,
And so that's part of it, right? So this is basic sales, right? Is to know what you're offering, right? I think that's one of the things I just pulled out of what you just said is you got to know what your product is, and you got to know how it serves your customer, right? So
product knowledge 101. But really, it's not even about you. You got to know what your audience wants. What are their pain points, and how can you help them?
Yep. Exactly.
I heard you say, Leah, you have to niche down. And I think that is super important for finding sponsors, finding events, finding clients. And I think so many people make the mistake to say, what I have to offer, it's for everybody. It's for everybody. And I think what you said is so salient, and everybody needs to take that away. You better niche down. Tell us, Leah, how does that help you specifically to attract sponsors?
Yeah, well, it's attractive to them. First of all, after talking to several of our sponsors, they too have been hijacked by the slick marketers who promise everything. So they've lost business. So I wanted to bring integrity and authenticity back to the book and speaking industry. So it attracted them, and what I'm doing at our conference, our book sponsors, right after our keynote, we'll have a panel discussion. So our audience will know who they are and be able to have those conversations. But I think promoting them is really, it really can't be about you. Shawn knows this. He's coming to the conference again.
Yeah.
Yes, I host the conference. I do the least amount of speaking at it because it's not my lane. I'm not an expert at it. My job is to bring the experts in. And I think the more value you bring to a conference, to a television show, it doesn't matter. The value is in the content. And it has to be congruent with your audience. It just has to, or it just won't resonate.
Well, and I think you're bringing out an important theme here, and I've seen some conferences do a better job of it than others, right? Some of them will tie the sponsors to the themes, to the topics, and then really get things positioned. Other ones you walk past and there's like some random banner in the hall that has a bunch of logos on it, and you have no idea how the sponsors are connected to the events, right? And it sounds like you've kind of gone in the direction of audience, programming, sponsor. They're all aligned with each other. There's a very close relationship between.
Well, that's how I run my media company. Not everybody is going to be a fit. Not all sponsors are going to be a fit for us. So it's really the same way I run my business. The sponsors actually have to be in alignment with our audience. And they have to be a good fit. And the other thing is, Shawn, if I don't want to break bread or play in the sandbox with you, I don't want to work with you. Yeah. I don't want to take your money. I don't want to be beholden to you. I want to work with the people that I know, love, trust, and can throw my heart over the bar. And I know we're going to bring value to my audience.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm thinking of one particular event that you and I have kind of dissected a couple of times and some difficulties they're having. How do you avoid the temptation of sponsor comes along, you can land them, maybe they have a big national, international name, they want to put their name on your event, and some of these events they get that once, and then that national name says, well, I didn't get anything out of it, I'm not coming back again. How do you as a person avoid that temptation, or how do you make the most of maybe that opportunity if it does come to you?
I think the conversation needs to be up front. I think giving people giving them a realistic assessment. But again, if you're niched down far enough, like last year I said, hey, this is my first one, and they all want to come back. I decided not to bring a couple of them back, but they wanted to come back because they saw the value. And that's really what it is. And, I would love to say every event is perfect, but if you run a really tight ship and you do a good job, it may not be perfect, but nobody else will know but you.
Yes, so there's something to be said, and that's good event handling. And I know you have a lot of experience in that, Leah. So you're fixing the problems as they happen, or you're adjusting, right? You have one speaker runs long, somebody's flight gets delayed.
Yeah, the show must go on.
Yeah.
The show must go on, and I've been doing it for years with nonprofits which have no money or budget. So I've learned I learned years ago that you really can't even hold a conference or anything else without figuring out the money right up front.
Yeah.
I start from the end result and work backwards. Here's what it's going to cost me. Here's the packages I need to sell. I never rely on butts and seats to pay for my conference.
Right. Because
that's cherry on the cake.
Yeah. And there's different business models. There's certainly nothing wrong with making your money on the other place, but you got to understand how your model works and how you're going to position with your sponsors. So if you're not making money off the people in the seats, that means you really got to be focused on making sure the sponsors get the right exposure and the right opportunities so that they say, hey, let me come back next year because, we got some customers, or we got some quality leads, or we built the right relationships.
Well, and that's just it. And you really have to figure out the money way up front. And I think that's, you know, a lot of people have that mentality, build it and they will come. Oh, if only that were true.
Yeah.
You know, it's not true. And again, niching down, knowing your core value, knowing what you bring, and making sure that you present that not only to your audience, but to your sponsors as well. And if you've really niched down that far, then it's going to be much easier because the audience and the sponsors, again, are in alignment.
Right.
Well, and I think, Leah, that just ties back to your core values of integrity and authenticity, you know, so if that's commanding you, if you have a solid business plan on one side, here's the money that we need to run this event, and knowing you're going to do it with that authenticity, your audience is automatically going to be attracted to that. Your tribe is going to find you there.
Well, and that you said something else. You got your tribe. You got to build your tribe. You know, Shawn and I, my magazine, it's really different. It's not a fit for the SmartFem Summit. You know, so I had to build a Facebook group last year, and we filled our conference with that Facebook group, and we're continuing to grow it, and we're filling it through that group because while I love entrepreneurs, I am an entrepreneur. I love working with them. They are not a fit for my media group. They can't afford the advertising. So this is my way of helping them and allowing me to work with them, just not on a day-to-day basis, you know. But it allows me to bring in the real experts because I'm in my lane. I'm good at media. That's my lane. And I'm great at events. That's my lane. And that's kind of how I do it. And then I bring value and I do stage swaps with other speakers who also have a tribe, and their tribe comes over, and we share the tribe. I think if you're creating value and you're playing in a sandbox with the right people, it's not really competition, it's collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we build that right team. I think a big piece you just hit upon there is community, right? So you're talking about, you've got the SmartFem author, speakers, entrepreneur network Facebook group. People that fit in that category should go check that thing out. That's a community, and that community is then in turn aligned with the event, which is in turn aligned with the sponsors and the people they want to meet and do business with, right? So there's a continuity through this whole thing.
There is, and what I like about it is they're doing business with each other, which is what I want. You know, you want people to make money, and you want them to do well because when they're happy, they come back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a lot of sense, right? So you want them to want to come back. How does it look when you go back to your sponsor for renewal? You say, okay, well, so we had a successful event last year. Love to have you come back. What does that process typically look like?
Well, it was really interesting. I had a lot of feedback, and they all wanted to come back, but they wanted to know when I was going to have it. So I had to plan immediately, and then we moved it because we moved it to Scottsdale because as I built our TV studio, and then we have our airport hangar and stuff, they wanted to come here. So I had to forfeit my deposit in LA, which was a substantial one, but it made more sense because my team wasn't going to, have broken equipment, which always happens when you're traveling, lighting equipment, tripods, what have you. We have a beautiful TV studio, and what you need to know about our conference is my conference is built around 10 book authors. I combine a conference, an international TV show on Amazon Prime, Between the Lines, and celebrities and kind of a hangar party. I want them to have an experience that they wouldn't have otherwise. And with Amazon Prime, you can't just have talking heads. So, some of the B-rolls at the conference, it's at the after party, it's signing books, but it's an experience. I want them to have an experience and go, wow, that was just amazing.
Right.
And one of the things that I've learned early on is if you give to people like I did last year, just come, be my guest and see how you like it. They come back. A couple of them came back as book authors. Oh my God, I want to do this. Oh, I want to sponsor you. When you give, without expectation, you get.
Right.
So the sponsors saw it immediately. And I learned last year, okay, do not put the book authors panel on the very last day, during the end of the day. So I learned, okay, we're going to put them on the first day after the keynote so people know who they are. You learn those little things when you put things together,
Yeah.
I think that's so good. And I think so many times people forget when they have sponsors and they're looking at sponsor renewals, that your sponsors are also your clients. And what you talk about, Leah, that I love that everybody should take away is you have to make an experience of it, and it has to be an experience for your attendees and also for your sponsors, because sponsor renewal, targeted sponsor renewal, which is coming through loud and clear and super important, that is key to making sure that all of your values continue to come through and everyone's getting what they need out of it.
Well, and that's, you really have to care about your clients. I mean, that's the core message with my magazine. I've been working with Lexus for 9 years and Jeep for 6, and every month I don't want to have to chase money, and I won't. I don't like it. It's not one of my things. And if you really know up front, and if you're willing, unfortunately, marketing is a moving target. Mm-hmm. I'm back in school again. I went to film school again in 2014. You have to stay sharp. And I think a lot of people try to do everything themselves. I recognize, I'm good at this stuff. I'm great with client expectations and relationships. I'm really good at that. And I'm good at events. So, and I really do understand the frustration that many book authors have, because I was one of them. Yeah. So I think a lot of people really need to sit back and what is your audience experiencing? What are your sponsors? What are their pain points? And how can you address them?
Yeah, so this is good follow through, I think, is what you're talking about. And this is something that, Shannon and I have seen as we've worked with organizations, and as a growing trend is it's no longer just about the sale in sales anymore. More and more organizations are saying it's about retention. It's about customer satisfaction. And, depending on what organization you're in, where they are, a lot of them are saying, hey, salespeople, we don't just need you to sell. We need you to start a relationship that's going to continue. And indeed, we're going to tie your compensation to that, because, churning customers and bringing them in the front door is great and it gets us moving, but we don't want to compensate you if you're bringing people in and they're leaving out the back door because they're disappointed. That I'll show you this and I'll sell you that is no longer appropriate. And a lot of what you're talking about, Leah, is that, working with your sponsor, I'm going to give you this. And then, you're saying, hey, I gave you that. Were you happy with that? Now I'm going to give you this next time. And it's a back.
And that's true. And when you can't deliver, you have to be honest. Mm-hmm. Like when I was trying to get my show off the ground, at that time, I thought I'd just do local broadcast, because that was, that's my past. I was a broadcaster out here. And I had to go back to Jeep. He went from magazine advertising to television advertising.
Yes.
And I had to go back to him and say, I can't get it off the ground. Let's go back to magazine and I'll reimburse you. He goes, no, let's keep it where it is. I believe in you. And not only I decided to bypass that. I went with Amazon Prime. 33 million people are cutting cable.
Yeah.
So I haven't had cable for years. So I had to really just get in my head and be honest with people, because I think when you fail, it's an opportunity to show your integrity.
Yes.
Don't hide it. Come right out front. Be in front of it and just say, hey, look, I can't get this. And that will show them that they can trust you. Because they all love you when things are going great. But when it hits the fan and how you handle that, that's really when people decide whether they want to stay with you or not.
It'll make it last, right? When you go to that level of trust. And for so many people, that is one of the biggest struggles and it's, again, part of what we alluded to earlier. Most of the sales process is everything's great, buy, right? Everything's great, buy. People in their real heads know that in the real world, not everything's great all the time.
Well, I think that's it. And at the end of the day, people want to do business with people. Yeah. Nobody wants to work with polyperfect. Oprah's a prime example. I mean, she broke the mold. She was not the tall, skinny blonde and got fired from her first job, but she was so real that people could really relate to her. And I think you have to get that real with your customers. Don't sell above them, talk to them.
Right. So speaking on the theme of real, you have a very real event going on here, and you've got some great stuff happening coming up in Scottsdale. So why don't you tell folks more about just how to get in touch with you, how to check your work out, Leah, and possibly if they want to come to the summit, how they can find out about all that.
Well, I hope they'll come to the summit. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have a couple of celebrity speakers. Lisa Guerrero, Inside Edition, is going to be there. And Shay Hillenbrand, who is a dear friend of mine, but he's a former Boston Red Sox and Diamondback, and also a two-time, I forget what it's called, where they All-Star.
Yes.
He has an amazing story. I mean, really an amazing story. And, Shawn, you're going to be there.
I'm looking forward to it.
Come on, it'll be a lot of fun. But I wanted to really do something very special for our book authors, because I know how difficult it is to get that book out of the box. And we've created a full PR package for our book authors, 10 book authors. That season 2 of Between the Lines, where we're going to be interviewing them in our new TV studio at the conference and at our A-lister after party in the hangar with the Jets. So that's going to be fun. But with celebrities, and we're just going to make it a new experience for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are looking for, is an experience.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be on Amazon Prime, both here and in Europe.
Right. So I think people check it out. Where are the links at, Leah? Where's it all at?
If you go to smartfemnetwork.com, that's the website for it. Also jump into our Facebook group, which is the SmartFem. What is it? I just changed the name of it. It's SmartFem Network for authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs.
Yep.
But we got a lot of good people in there, and they're helping each other out, and they're finding good resources.
Yeah, it's been a great community, so go check it out, folks. And I think you really hit a point there when you were kind of wrapping that up. It's it's about the real results to real people. So you're going to produce results for the attendees, and then that's going to then in turn into a good experience for your sponsors, which is kind of the theme of today's show.
Well, and I think it's been fun to see them in the group. Yep. But when they meet in person, our tagline for SmartFem Media Group is online, on air, everywhere. I really think it's easy to get lost in the online community, and there's something really special about bringing people in. You and I met off Facebook.
Yes, we did.
A couple of years ago, and now you come stay at the house. You're part of the fam.
Yep. It's great. It's great.
It's a great way to build a relationship, but it's so fun to solidify. Well,
and Shannon and I wrote a book together before we met in person.
True.
We went through the process, then we met each other in person after we did the And with that, folks, thanks for tuning into the Great Sales Leaders Show. We really appreciate you being there. Take a moment, pat yourself on the back for doing the hard work, for investing in yourself, building the future. I mean, there's some lessons here that are really powerful that you can take back. Whatever you're selling, you can apply these. I want to remind you, you can check out our past episodes and our upcoming episodes at Sales Leadership Done Right. You can also jump on our email list there. Shannon and I are working on regularly sending tips out to our tribe to let people know what's going on, how you can be better at sales leadership, and managing your time to get those sales done. So make sure you check out all of that at the salesleadershipdoneright.com.
By the way, I loved your book, you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Leah.
Yes, we got to talk about that last year on the show. And folks, drop your comments wherever you're watching. You might be watching at the Great Sales Leaders YouTube channel. You might be watching on one of our LinkedIn feeds. Wherever you're at, we want to hear from you, what you're doing, what lessons you learned from this show, what you're trying, maybe things that we missed. We want to hear from it. So drop your comments, folks. And Leah, thanks for making some time to be with us today.
Great.
Thanks so much, Leah.
Thank you. Sorry I was from home today. Couldn't make it into the office.
I love it.